Oh, hello. It's me, it's Dan Berry, and I'm going to talk to you about colour modes, how they work and how to wrap your head around the two main different kinds of colour modes, how they work, what they do, how you should work them, basically. The very simple guide to them. We've got two main colour modes. We're going to talk about RGB and CMYK. We have these two colour modes. One's for screens and one's for things that are printed. Screens are pretty cool because they shoot light out at you. If you are in a dark room with your phone on, you can see what's going on because your phone is emitting light. So the colours on a phone screen, on a monitor, on your TV, they can be really bright and vibrant, and they can really overwhelm you with light. They're really, really cool. Other kind, the CMYK mode, it starts with white, and then we add things in front of it. Cyan, magenta, yellow and black, pigments, inks, paints, things like that, charcoal, pencil, I guess, all sorts of things that we can put in front of this to stop light from bouncing off it, basically. So when we're printing, we use cyan, magenta, yellow and black, and we use those combinations, mix them together to make new colours. When I was a kid, someone said to me, if you take all of the colours in the rainbow and mix them together, you'll end up with pure bright white light. And I remember thinking, I don't believe that, that doesn't sound right. I went to the art room at school and I took all the colours and I mixed them together and I ended up with like a muddy brown. And that's where my distrust of adults came from, because it sounded like a lie and I proved them wrong. But they were right, because they were talking about mixing light. If you took the visible spectrum of light and you shot it through a prism, you know, you've seen that thing where a beam of light goes into a prism and then it explodes out into a rainbow. Like, that's pretty cool. It shows that white light is made up of colours that we can and can't see. Well, we can also take that visible spectrum of light and we can cram it back down into white. This is what your monitor does. Inside your monitor, like each pixel, each of those individual little blocks inside your monitor has a red, green and a blue little dot inside each pixel. Because I'm a curious sort, I have a little macro lens that I stuck on the front of my phone and I took a photo of my screen. So let's have a quick look at that. It looks like this. So this is super close up. This is, you know, each one of those three, a red, green and blue, is a pixel. And as I zoom out, the picture should start to become apparent. It means, at the moment, it doesn't really look at it like anything at all. It looks like a weird bedspread. But you can see that some pixels are more illuminated than others. The cool thing about these pixels is that they can be turned on and off, almost like a graph. Like the red is entirely turned on and the green is entirely turned off and the blue is halfway on, to mix the colours that way. So when we have all three of them turned entirely on, as they get smushed together, they're very, very tiny, they're really, really small, they should smush together to make white light. So then what we should end up with is something like that. Wow! So that's really cool. I like that. You can do this as well. If you got a red torch, a blue torch and a green torch in a dark room and you shone them like the spotlights over each other, it would make a white spot, which is really, really cool. You can't do that with paint. You shouldn't do that with paint. It won't work. You'll end up with a big brown mess and a cleaning bill. So over here in Photoshop, I have my colour picker. Here it is. Now, we're going to look at these two boxes down the bottom here. We've got the RGB and we've got the CMYK. This is an RGB file. Most of your photographs, anything you scan in, most of the files you create digitally will be RGB. They'll be RGB to begin with because computers love talking computer. If we have a look at the red, I'm going to turn all these colours down to 0. Let's turn the red to 0, the green to 0, and the blue to 0. All of those pixels are now turned off. Like the red, green and blue, they're off. The graph is down to 0, and so no light is being emitted from that block on the screen there, where the pointer is. Nothing, so it's dead. If I turn the red on entirely, now because it's computers and nothing is ever easy, So instead of going up to 100 like you would expect, being 100%, it doesn't even get halfway. With RGB it goes up to 255. Of course it does. Computers. But that red is very, very red. It's about as red as a computer can get. It's so red. If I take that back down to 0, move over to the green, guess what happens if I turn that up to 255? You get the most neon green. Very, very green. And the blue, I bet you can imagine what will happen next. 255. It's super blue. So with those three colours, we get the full range of colours that we can depict on the screen. Pretty cool. If, however, we go over to the CMYK, if I say there's no cyan, 0 magenta, 0 yellow, and 0 black, what that means is there is no cyan, magenta, yellow, or black coming out of any of the pots in your printer, and there is nothing going on the page, therefore it's white. Unless you're printing on coloured paper, in which case it's the colour of the paper. Oh, that's so confusing. Basically it's white. Let's just call it white. It's white. So there's nothing there. But in RGB, everything's turned on. Can you see how these things are kind of opposites? It can get a little confusing. So if I turn the cyan all the way up to 100, obviously this is now 100%, got a little percentage sign there, nice. It's a really solid cyan. Let's take that down. The magenta is super, super magenta. The yellow, guess what? It's yellow, it's really yellow. And the K is black. It's black, it's called K because it's the key plate. It's usually black, but it's the one that is printed last on top of all the other colours. It's usually the line work or something like that, but it's called the key plate, which is why it's K. It's not because black ends with a K. There we go. Boring trivia. The way that black is represented is really interesting. With this black here, we know that there's 100% black coming out of the black cartridge in the printer. Just black, nothing else, only black. But in RGB, it's this weird sort of off black, grey, red. It's not really black. If we were to just go and select black like we normally would, what we've got here is we've got 75% cyan, 68% magenta, 67% yellow, and 90% black, that's a lot of ink, like coming out onto the paper. So if we just had regular copy paper going through our regular inkjet printer, like that paper's going to buckle because there's so much liquid going onto it. So that's a very, very high density of ink. And when you get up to those high densities, something could go wrong. Something to think about. One of those reasons why things come out dark, maybe. So we have this cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Now, what we can't really do is we can't represent like all of the greens with that blue and that yellow. We can't get really rich, vibrant, bright greens with those two colours because we don't have enough range with those colours. I know when I'm mixing colours with these that I've got a bunch of options for greens and blues and yellows because I've got a bunch of them and I can mix what I like from that. I don't have that with this. It's kind of limiting. There's a way to visually see this in Photoshop. I'm going to use shortcut fingers. I'm going to hold down Command, Shift, and press the letter Y. Remember it as like Y, because that's the way I remember it. If we do that, Photoshop will grey out all of the colours that we can't use. This is called seeing things that are out of gamut. So gamut, which is a wonderful word to say, it's got a lovely mouth sound, is Photoshop's way of saying very immediately how badly wrong it's going to go. So let's have a quick look at how badly wrong this will go. So around here in the spectrum, we're kind of magenta-ish, so we can see that this is okay. As I come through the spectrum, the magenta's dropping out as we move towards the blues, and you can see that that grey has crept all the way in. So these purples that I would try and print here, Photoshop is saying, I will show you them, but I will not print these purples. So this purple here, that's a really nice purple. You can see there's a little warning sign next to the box there. If I hover over it, click to select in gamut colour. So if I click that, it will find the closest colour to that colour that is within its reach. Like, yes, we can print that one. And you can see, as I do this, it goes from that nice vibrant colour to something that looks like it died a while ago. So this is one of the reasons why our colours, when we move from RGB to CMYK, end up looking dull and lifeless. It's because the printer literally can't reach those colours. It doesn't have them within its grasp. As we come through again, so purples, they look like they're going to be particularly difficult to print. There's a bunch of blues there that are going to be tough. Like those blues, they look lovely, but I don't think we can print them. There we go. So around the cyan, no problem. If it's a cyan sort of blue, lovely. No problems at all there. As we come down towards the greens, we can see this grey tide encroaching, where we've got so many greens that just don't want to print, because it's very difficult to print those colours with the colours cyan, magenta, yellow and black. And then moving into the yellows and the oranges, we've got more of them. Obviously there's some missing. So you can literally see that tide come in and out, and they sort of hump themselves around the cyan, magenta, yellow and black. So the colours that we can and can't see. A neat way I like to think about how we can think about cyan, magenta, yellow and black representing on screen is if we try and use these colours to mix a colour that should be relatively difficult to actually represent. So if we take a highlighter, for example, and we try and mix those colours from there, we should start to see how difficult it is. So if we start with like that absolute neon yellow, it's going to be really, really difficult for us to actually mix it with anything approaching that level of vibrancy. So this is a really nice, it's quite a nice lemon yellow I have here, and there's no way I can get that colour match. Similarly with this green, it's kind of a neon green. I can add some of this blue to try and get there. It's approaching it. No, it's not at all. More yellow. Not getting there. So I don't have these neon colours within my grasp. So you can see the limitations of these four colours that I have. Similarly, if I add any black to any of these colours, it immediately will desaturate it and make it kind of dull and lifeless, which kind of what happens when you add black to any colour. CMYK. So anyway, this is one way of figuring it out. The other way we can do this is if you've got your image open, you can use the same shortcut, Command-Shift-Y, and it will grey out all of the colours that are outside of gamut, which is just wild. So this fairly benign looking image that I had before, I mean those blues up there are fairly cyanish, so they don't seem to be causing us any problems. But there's the oranges and reds in the flames there. There's a bunch of the sky colour there that doesn't want to work. There's some colours there in the waves that don't want to work either. There's some browns in those shields there that don't want to work either. And so this is distressing to me. So I'm thinking, how bad could this go? Let's open up our colour picker and see how badly out of gamut we are. So we can see these colours that are in gamut are firmly within gamut. Lovely, lovely, lovely. These are all fine. So this colour here, that's close to being in gamut. That's real close. That doesn't have to move far to be within gamut. These ones here, they're basically touching gamut. I don't think that's a huge problem. So I think here we could get away with this. So we've got two ways of converting an RGB image to a CMYK image. There's one way where you kind of cross yourself and hope for the best and take it as it comes. We'll try that way first, where you go to image mode and just say just turn it CMYK, and let's say merge it, whatever, and then it does what it will, and it will do whatever. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this from the video, but the colours all went, they just flattened out and went a little bit gross. It's not going to be so pronounced on this particular image because they're quite light colours and they weren't super out of gamut. If we had all those purples and all those greens in there, yikes, that would have been tough. That would have been a tough conversion to make, I think. So this one is, don't get an awful lot of choices there. Let's go backwards in time. I've undone, so we're back to an RGB image, you can see at the top. Let's go to Edit, let's go to Convert to Profile. This way we should have a little bit more extra wiggle room, a little bit of a preview of what is to come. So the destination space, we're going to send it to a CMYK profile. Cool, that's nice. And I'm going to look down towards the intent here. We've got the preview turned on so we can see what will happen. We've got the perceptual intention. We have the saturation intention. We have the relative colorimetric, and we have the absolute colorimetric. And hopefully you can see as I shift between some of these, there is a slight difference between some of them. I found, depending on what kind of artwork you're working with, you can sometimes balance out the style, the overall tone of the image against these 4 options you've got there. What I would recommend is just having a play with it and seeing which one looks best visually. I mean, always, if you can, do a test print. There's nothing that is going to inform you better than being able to see a thing that's actually printed, and then you'll go, oh, this is dreadful, or I can live with that. So yes, this is I guess in some ways some bad news for some people. If this is not what you wanted to hear, I'm very sorry. However, if you're only ever going to be seen on screen, go buck wild. I mean, just let it all go. Go wild. This would be great. So anyway, I hope this has helped you understand colour modes and the 2 main kinds that we have and why they do what they do and how frustrating they can be. Thanks very much. I'm Dan Berry. Tell your friends if this is useful and don't tell them if it wasn't. Thank you very much. Goodbye.